Hey guys, what's up? It's Tommy here, and I'm a black, trans, Latino man living in Florida. Yo, Happy New Year. I hope everybody enjoyed their New Year. I hope that you enjoyed your family or your friends or whatever you do for your New Year's, but that it was a chill, enjoyable, happy New Year. And if it wasn't, then I hope that things have gotten better since then. Right, so a couple of things I want to share today, but I want to get something off my chest, all right? Now, this year, in 2025, my goal hasn't shifted. It's just a continuation of last year, right? I want to have a more positive mindset. I want to be better with my finances and my career goals. And those two things I'm going to focus on. So by the end of the year, I will do one major thing that I'm not going to say on here, but it's major, and I'll let you know when the day happens, but it's super major. One of my goals encompasses curating my social media a tad bit more so that it's more positive and I'm not in constant alarm. I realized, especially after this last year, that, we do need to be aware of what's going on and to be either prepared or, to fight back or to handle whatever's coming. But being submerged in information that is negative is not good. And then on top of that, like being submerged in information which is negative, which you cannot do anything about, really, is horrible. It just makes you feel hopeless and helpless. And I feel like those feelings kind of trickle into your life, and then you kind of just start doing hopeless and helpless instead of doing, okay, this is happening, but I'm going to figure out how to survive or thrive in this situation. So it's good to be aware of what's going on, but it's also good to have the mindset that no matter what, I'm going to be happy. That my happiness comes from internal and not external. So, and I know it's a little harder to do when you are trans, but hey, I said what I wanted to do was hard. I know that, but it's not impossible. So, let's get to this conversation. On my Facebook, a bunch of guys, and I was so disappointed, not surprised. A bunch of guys were like, if you are a lesbian dating a trans man, you're not a lesbian, I'm not gonna argue this. And I was like, whoa, seriously, dude? What is wrong with y'all? Seriously, what is wrong with y'all? Like, are you so lost in the sauce of heteronormativity and, not being secure in your own manhood that you would say that? See, that doesn't mean that this is more about you and that you're thinking about your own transness, your own manhood, than it does about the woman that you are claiming who isn't a lesbian anymore because she's dating a trans guy. Okay, now I want to preface this. I do not date lesbians. I don't date lesbians not because it has to do with me. Because, hey, I could have been the exception to the rule. Maybe she's majorly attracted to women, but she just happens to be attracted to a guy, and I happen to be that dude. It doesn't take away from my masculinity, and it definitely doesn't take away from her main identity. Okay? People have exceptions to rules all the time. Okay? And then another thing is, like, why is the identity thing such a factor for you that you would cut off the ability to be loved purely by somebody? Because the way I see it, if she's willing to date a trans man, she's also very much willing to either get kicked out or leave her community. Lesbians are all about their community. I think lesbians, out of all the LGBT society group, is probably the ones that are really about their community. Like, they hate it when anyone goes outside of that. Bisexual women, women who had a lesbian experience in college, like, they're not about that life. Or even a lesbian that happened to fall in love with a man, because it happens. It doesn't mean that she's not a lesbian. It means she had an exception to the rule. Her main thing is still that she's a lesbian. And your main thing is still you're a freaking dude. When trans men say things like that, I'm like, bro, please tell me that you're not doing this whole, like, my manhood depends on someone else's opinion about me, one, or that my manhood depends on my genitalia. Please tell me that, because even cis men do that to themselves, and I think it's dumb. I don't think you understand. We don't have a problem with masculinity in itself, manhood in itself. We have a problem with the patriarchy, right? And those are two different things. I would honestly, strongly suggest you guys pick up a book by Bell Hooks or some feminism and get educated on this topic, because it will free you from the change of the patriarchy. Because you could be a man, you could be a dude's dude, you could like the fish, you could like whatever, but you don't have to see women as validation to your identity, or anyone else for that matter. Because that's what you say to me. That's how I interpret it. The person that I date is the person that takes my identity. I identify as a queer man. I'm pansexual. Now, people love to put me in the straight. Oh, you're straight. I'm like, psst, no. My girlfriend identifies as straight, but I do not. I do not. Even if I'm in a straight relationship, I do not identify as straight, because straight comes with expectations and community that I'm not a part of. And I don't want to be. I like my community, you know? So can we just leave that in 2024? Dude, do you not understand what's going on? 2025, there will be an administration coming, right, that has a target on everyone's back, no matter where you are in the LGBTQI community. The last thing that we need at the current moment is division, and the last thing that we need to do is make other people feel bad about their own identities. If a lesbian dates a trans man or likes trans men, and she identifies as a lesbian, as long as she's not saying I like trans men because of their past or their genitalia, then that's a different story. Then I would say, maybe you want to skip out on her because she's not respecting your masculinity, right? But if she's still saying the dude in you and falling in love with that dude, regardless of her attraction to other women, bro, that's a win-win situation. And it's just like a lesbian who dates straight men because it's happened, right? I had an ex-girlfriend before I transitioned that she dated a trans man, and then she dated a cis dude, and then she went back to women after that. So her main attraction was always to women. I know maybe like 2 or 3 cases that's happened where the woman dates, she's mainly with women, and then for some reason she has a attraction to a man, so she dates a man for a while. But that doesn't stop her from being a lesbian. I know it's a lot to really take in, and it's hard to understand, but we don't have to understand it. And my last claim to you is this: we want people to accept us, to tolerate us, to love us. Let's not be intolerant. Let's make sure that we are always on the side of compassion and love and empathy, and try to understand people, rather than to say, hey, I'm going to take your entire identity if you decide to date me. Because what you're saying is that you're not secure in your identity. You're not secure in your identity. Now, I prefaced, that I do not date lesbians myself. And here's the reason why I particularly don't. Because I had too many bad experiences with it. I had 3 in a row. And I was like, okay, this is not the group for me. Because a lot of them weren't really interested in my masculinity. They were still trying to date a part of me that didn't really exist. So that was my experience with that. But if you have a different experience, that's kudos to you. I wouldn't date anyone, lesbian, gay, whatever, who is trying to date a part of me that did not exist in order to make themselves feel better. So the intent would have to be pure. But regardless, who I date doesn't take away from me. I am and will always be masculine, a man. Okay, so make sure that when you say things out your mouth out loud on the social media hemisphere, take a minute to ask yourself, where is this coming from? I'm going to use myself as an example. I really, really had a hard time with non-binary. I didn't really get it. And I was even a little hostile. And I was like, why does this bother me so much? Why does this bother me so much? And then I realized it didn't really bother me. I didn't really care. I was worried about what the cisgender heterosexual people would say about us and how far non-binary people would take us back, because cisgender people would have a hard time wrapping their head around it. And here we go. But then I realized that the people who would do that no matter what. So, and why am I basing my opinion, all right, on a particular group of people because of what straight heterosexual people do on the daily? So I stopped it. I'm like, I don't understand it, still don't. I'm a very binary guy, but I don't need to understand it to accept them and love them and tolerate them or whatever, or even stand up for them, because they're still in my community, and I will stand up to any person who picks on a non-binary person. I don't think non-binary people take away my rights or anything, or even my identity for that matter. So anyway, that's my rant, and hopefully it'll be the last time I have to rant, because it really wasn't a rant. It was more just like a suggestion. I'm not an expert, but just be careful, the kind of energy you put out, and make sure that you wouldn't mind that energy coming back to you, because if you do, then it's the wrong type of energy. Have a beautiful day.